Okay, we're recording.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome, and hope everybody's staying safe and happy and healthy. Call to order. Kate, would you do that?
Sure will. Okay, on,
The roll call, rather?
yeah, sure. We have with us today Cynthia Carter, Dan Leary, Don Radke, Jeff Romano, Lisa Tanzi, and Bob Haley. And Julia Marshall is on the phone, and Tom Cantwell is excused.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'd like a motion to accept the minutes that were handed out.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any changes, modifications? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I have to
Abstained?
abstain. I'm abstaining because I never received a copy of it.
Really? Okay. One abstention. Other than that, motion carries. Thank you very much. Old business. Project site review. PR-17-34M1, 476, 480 South Salina Street, Whitlock Building. We've got way too much background noise, so.
Yeah, if everyone could mute, please, that would be great, except for Randy.
Yeah, as Kate put in her report, the subcommittee did meet and did speak with Randy, and I don't want to waste time and go through everything. I'm assuming everybody read their packet. The reality of the situation is that as the developer was developing the building, ran into structural issues that required the actions that he took. And that's been confirmed. Randy's confirmed that there was structural steel in the way of the two end windows. And that said, our jurisdiction here is to comment, and our comment will be that the developer was still required to come back to us rather than just arbitrarily making changes, and that we don't approve the as-built. However, the recommendation of this committee is to accept it based on the realities of what I just discussed, as well as the 5 points that are in the report. I know other staff members or other subcommittee members, do you have any comment? You can unmute yourself and come on. Bob or Lisa?
Yeah, thanks. I think that there were some simple attempts to use everything that's in place with some color changes and a change of sign location to kind of refocus the 3 center bay windows vertically by putting the sign over those. We basically to really try and pull and manage the existing design in a positive way. I think it came out fairly positive, and we're pleased with the recommendations.
Okay. Lisa, do you have anything you want to add?
Lisa, on mute.
I'm
Okay.
looking for Lisa. I'm not sure if we may have lost Lisa. Looks like we may have lost Lisa, I'm afraid. She'll come back on.
Randy, do you have anything you'd like to add? Or?
I have nothing. We kind of put it all into those 2 photos, everything from the meeting that we had.
Okay.
The only thing I would add to what we said here is that I would like you to submit those colors for the cornice to Kate, just since I don't think we've had those yet, the change of color that's been recommended. And then Kate can take that quickly after that.
Will do.
Okay. All right. Then with that.
There's a question from Dan.
Yeah, I have one comment, and I thank the subcommittee for their report, and I agree with everything that's stated there, but I just can't accept the fact that the developer went ahead and spent the money on what we were told was the same condition for the 3 windows in the center that was on the 2 windows. It's like we get 80% or whatever of the job. And it reminds me of the days when you could accomplish demolition by just ignoring your property and letting it deteriorate. I just can't accept that. And we have to live with this weird elevation forever. And I can't vote for that part of the recommendation.
Thank you for that, Dan. And with that in mind, we are not going to, the recommendation is not to use the language that we approve. We recognize the reality and we accept. And we will have an admonishment statement in there stating that the developer can't continue to do business like this, et cetera, et cetera. Kate's going to work on that. So
I want to just, Don, to add to that and to Dan's comment, I've also noted in our notes from Kate on that at the end of the paragraph, we should reiterate that no changes, and we can say this on this issue and bring it forward in future issues or initial applications, a phrase that no changes to the submitted design plans should proceed without contacting LPB first. Now, I think we say that somewhere, but it is ignored. So if we can say it again, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's something that we can direct staff to do in the future.
Right.
But as far as this particular project site review, I'm not hearing any dissent from the approach that we're taking. So with that, I think we're going to move forward. Kate will get the comments out, and that's the way it is. Okay, Randy, are you all set?
I'm all set. I appreciate the board's, I will say, help, and I think the owner has been sufficiently chastened, but I'm going to keep an eye on him moving forward.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I'm going to drop out now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, I swallowed down the wrong pipe here.
Okay.
Excuse me. Okay, moving on. New business. Certificates of appropriateness. CA-20-18-501. Park Street, rebuild the side porch in the former rectory. Is that applicant here? I believe he is.
Yeah, is that Irfan? Can you hear us, Irfan?
Irfan, could you unmute yourself?
I think he is unmuted. There. Oh no, he's trying. Looks like he's trying.
While he's trying, Kate, do you want to go through this?
Sure, I can tell you what I can. So this is the former rectory. Here, I've got it on the. Everyone can see the photo.
Yep.
Right next to the former Holy Trinity, which is now the mosque. They are looking to rebuild this side porch. As you can see, where here it is. It's this I'm sorry, you can't see my. Oh, can you see my pointer? I don't know if you can see my. Anyway, this is the porch that they're looking to rebuild. I just want to give you quick context in that the LPB designated, the city designated the church, the former church structure, as a local protected site, but the application was actually silent on both the former rectory as well as the school building, which is next door, which is a lot later. The school. Whoops, I'm sorry. School building. So what they're looking to do is rebuild this particular porch, this side porch, get rid of the concrete base there, platform. Here's another picture of it.
Can you hear me now?
Side. Oh, we can
Yes.
hear you now. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I was just running quickly through the porch replacement and hadn't gotten any further than showing them photographs. So
Kate, has this already been done?
no.
Okay.
Nope. And this shows you on the site plan. Can you all see that? Maybe I can make it a little larger. You can see it's on the far side of the building, facing away from the church, former church, the mosque. the designated structure, shall we say. And then the plans are to build this porch. And Irfan, do you want to kind of go from here?
So thank you, everybody, for allowing us to present. I have our architect, Dave Tucker, here as well, present. As we know that when we were doing the church renovation into a mosque, there was a lot of historic conversations that were taking place. I personally didn't see as much historic requirements related to the rectory, but we're following all of the historic rules. This porch that's on the far side facing the school has been decrepit and is a hazard, and it's been a big problem for the community. And especially whenever it rains, it gets into a big problem. We've had a couple slips and falls. We've had some issues as well from a liability perspective. So just the porch side of things, we would like to replace. And so that's why we've submitted the design for a better, safer environment for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And just so everyone remembers that the local designations, they go by the parcel. So whatever buildings are on the parcel are also included in the designation. But then the designation itself specifies what is considered contributing. So this would be, as I said, it was silent in terms of the school as well as this. So really
it's
the
a non-contributing structure.
Right, and the board should be looking at what impact this would have on the historic character of the contributing structure. So anyway.
Yeah. Any comments or questions from the board?
Dan, I think the owners should be complimented for their diligence in repair and maintenance of this property. I see no problem with the fix that's proposed. I recommend, or I move that we accept. Are we in motion or what are we doing?
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's a motion.
I move that we accept it as proposed.
Do I have a second?
Second that. I'll second it.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank
There
you
has
very
to be an
much.
unmuted category in vote.
But we
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Wait, Don?
Yes?
I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute myself for the discussion. Did you pass me with your vote?
We did have a vote. Nobody objected.
I'm sorry, I didn't vote. I would like to make a recommendation. Again, I think it's terrific to take care of this particular entrance since it's used so much. I would recommend that they consider painting all of this, the trim color, in other words, all of the new construction, the trim color, which is your dark brown or dark red trim, and therefore all of this would look like a porch element. It would simplify itself out. It would reduce the complexity of the new construction visually, and it would help simplify this facade. So that's one recommendation. Also, I would like to ask the owner, is there any concern about visual security behind that window at the top of the stairs before you go in the door? Because I was going to recommend you use a larger, like a storm door glass panel there instead of the window you have, so that you can get more visibility to that back door for safety. That's just a comment to the applicant.
Okay,
So
well, the motion has been passed. It would have been passed one way or the other with the numbers. Yet at the same time, Kate, if you could communicate Bob's recommendations.
I didn't vote, so my vote's not included.
Well, I know, but we
the
still
meeting.
had enough votes to pass the motion.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't vote. I'm a board member, and I was muted trying to get in.
I understand that, Bob. Bob,
Okay.
We have a vote. It's been done, and we will pass your recommendations on.
So I have a question for the board, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
We have siding, as you guys have seen, the asbestos siding that's around the building.
Yep.
We are planning to remove all of that siding and replace it what is the board's recommendation on what kind of siding we should be considering as we're designing the siding plan? Because we were planning just regular vinyl siding, but I don't know if that's something that the board would appreciate.
We can comment pretty quickly on that. That vinyl is not appropriate, would not be advisable from this board, and that cement asbestos. I'm sorry, your panels are cement asbestos. I hope you know that.
Yes.
Those are a panel that's been around since the 30s and 40s. So cement, fiber cement siding looking like clapboard would be the most appropriate answer to this, I think, unless other recommendations from other board members.
Or wood clapboard.
Or wood.
Or wood, right.
So that's
restore what's underneath.
Sorry, Jeff?
Possibly restore what's underneath.
Yeah, we don't know what's underneath. Yeah, do you know what's underneath? It's a good question.
it's just the what do you call them?
Sheathing?
There's a black vapor barrier behind it, and then they have these what do you call them? Just wood
sheathing.
Furring strips.
There's no furring strips. There's no furring strips. It's literally just put on
the wood boards.
Blank of this.
Wood board sheathing.
Just wood board sheathing, traditional wood board sheathing.
With felt paper over it.
So the other concern is that I don't know how much this material costs, but that would be significantly expensive, wouldn't it, to do this entire house?
Well, that goes along with how much you intend to do with your renovation. Certainly, the siding options available to you can be priced out, and I think the cement siding, which is a very, I think it's a competitive price, or wood siding. Those are the two alternatives. I think you should price them both, and then maybe you'll find other alternatives. But certainly, vinyl is not appropriate from this board's recommendation.
And since this is a non-contributing building, then how does that play out?
It plays out in the fact that the Secretary of Interior guidelines, which we go by, still advise that any materials that are used in non-conforming buildings are in conforming with what is designated as historic. So Bob is correct that vinyl would not be a product that would be readily approved. What I would ask you to do is to please price things out, and feel free to come on back to us even on a discussion phase before you start spending time and money to get design and architecture. You know, if you could just get some prices, and if you need to, come on back to us. And
yeah,
the recommendations that Bob gave would be the initial recommendations of this board based on the Secretary of Interior standards.
May I make a comment?
Sure.
Also, the fact that the house is next to the mosque and will be visible as you look down the street to the mosque. It is a historic building, and with historic appropriate siding, it has a positive impact on the mosque. If it's got vinyl siding on it, it has a negative impact on the mosque.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things we have to consider, is the impact on the mosque, not necessarily the house itself, but how the setting affects the mosque.
Okay. Very, very good points. We will take that into our plan, and we will discuss it with you guys prior to setting up a solution.
Okay, that is great. And I would also suggest that you come up with a color scheme for us to look at also.
Right. And I think pricing it out is the first step. I just want to make one last comment. It's good to see David Tucker in the room. Thanks for coming back, David.
Hey, Professor, nice to see you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
I have a quick question. Are they gone?
Nope.
Oh, we're here.
Okay. Mr. Tucker, do you have kids in Marcellus?
Yes, I do.
I think I was their teacher.
Really?
Yes.
What a small
Syracuse
world.
is such a small town.
I
It's
know.
wonderful. It's wonderful. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.
And now that we're all related,
Yes.
we'll have a party.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
We can
Moving
disconnect,
on.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Moving on, CA-20-19, 12 Brattle Road, new garage and site work. Kate, I'm going to turn that over to you to further expound on your notes.
Sure. And Brian, actually, Brian, how do you say your last name? He's here.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Brian, are you here, Brian? Well, I can see he's here. But anyway, I can quickly tell you. Yeah. Did I hear him? Brian?
Okay, Kate, why don't you go and then we'll see if
I can start.
unmuted.
Yeah, I can start. So this is a house at I think the neighborhood has been looking for a long time for a new owner, and fortunately, Brian and his wife have purchased the house. It had been in receivership for a number of years. The bank owned it. Right on the corner of Sedgwick and Brattle. And I'm hoping Brian will be able to fill us in here.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yep,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, Brian, I'll let you go ahead and take it from here. But we're looking at a new garage and site work and some some repair work to the house. But you go ahead, Brian.
Great, thank you. So yeah, a little bit of background. This house was abandoned for 7 years, actually, and it was really unfortunate, some of the things that happened to it. It was vandalized twice. There was a lot of improper repairs. Fannie Mae didn't seem to care about it beyond a line on a spreadsheet. We actually had trouble buying it. They didn't want to sell it for whatever reason. The city was actually very helpful in forcing their hand. But for that reason that they didn't want to sell it, they weren't motivated. So normally this kind of property would be something that, a house restorer, somebody that wanted to, I don't really like the term, but flip the house would buy. But because the price was high, it wasn't good for, making profit. It just sat empty for a very, very long time. And so what we've been doing, we understand that we're, not going to profit, if you will, off of this, but we love the house. My wife, Patricia, she's grown up in old houses, and it's kind of a passion for her. I'm an engineer, so I'm very much interested in building and restoring. And so we've actually been having a lot of fun with it. So over the past 2 months, we've mostly been working on the interior. Our house actually in Clay sold before we even listed it. The housing market's so hot right now. But so we've got the interior, I'm going to say livable. We still have more work we want to do. And so we moved in last Sunday. And so now we're starting to turn our attention to the exterior. Kate's been extremely helpful with that. Heard a lot of good things about the board. So we wanted to get that application in. And so we could, work on that and, really do this house justice. We're not interested in cheap fixes. We're not interested in the fastest turnaround. We're interested in doing it right. And so I think we're all going to be aligned on that. And so, I'm looking forward to all this. So this is a nice bird's eye view of the house here. Most of the changes are going to be in that upper right corner. That's the only reasonable spot zoning wise for a garage. So apparently, I've heard different stories about this. Apparently there was a carriage house on a neighboring property. Somebody owned 2 properties, or the property lines changed, something like that. But in recent history, there's been no garage, and that's been a huge complaint that a lot of owners have had. And it's kind of funny because I don't know any of the previous owners, but lots of the neighbors around here do. So yeah, that now it's on the left corner, but
Yeah, sorry, I'm moving things around.
No worries. Yeah, that's the best case for a garage. And so basically we just want to have the smallest possible 2-car garage that we can. We don't want it to take away from the structure at all. We really want to just tuck it in the back corner and not necessarily hide it, but just have it small and in the corner. And the biggest reason we need a garage is actually we're both sports car collectors. The nice thing about sports cars is they're small, so we don't need a very large garage to keep them concealed. But we do want to have something that's that we can keep them, out of the weather, out of vandals' eyes, things like that. So this is a 3D model that I made of the garage. The only thing I want to comment here, the dimensions are relatively close, and it gives you an idea of what we want to build. But the actual materials are just kind of placeholders. The intent is to have cedar siding here. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute here. But it's not necessarily one-to-one there. And the other thing that's missing from the drawing is there will be a little bit of concrete block foundation. It needs to come above the ground level a certain amount for drainage, so I haven't drawn that in there. It is included in the height, but it just looks like the cedar goes all the way down. And then the garage door, there's a lot of different options there. We do want a big wooden door, no windows. It certainly won't have slats like it's been drawn, but we haven't decided necessarily on a design, and that's something we'd actually like some recommendations and some input on. But yeah, this is generally what we want. It's 20 by 20, which again, that's the smallest reasonable 2-car garage. That's perfect for our needs. One thing that's notable about it is that we've actually turned the gable 90 degrees. Typically the peak would be above the garage door on something like this, but we turned it 90 degrees for 2 reasons. One, the next door neighbor has a porch that overlooks the neighborhood. And if we had the gable facing forward, she would turn her beautiful view into a view of asphalt shingles. We don't want to do that, so that helps her. And the other reason, and I actually did a Photoshop so you could see what I mean by this. The other reason is with the gable turned 90 degrees, you don't see it from the street, and the dark siding just sort of fades into the background. So it diminishes the street presence of the garage that way. So it's going to stand, it's going to be 412 scissor gables, or scissor trusses is what we've spec'd. So it's going to stand just under 14 feet tall on that 20 by 20 footprint.
And I think that in here is that simulation too. Oh, here's.
Oh, there's the survey. So the survey data is in black. I have overlain green. And this actually looks like this is the first version that I sent you. So there is a couple updates in this second one, but for the garage, it's all unchanged. So that's where it'll sit. Zoning's already said okay to the placement as far as where it is, the setback, how close it is to the neighboring properties, things like that. The other thing that we'll be doing there, a normal driveway, you need around 8.5 feet at a minimum. And so if we put the garage there, instead of having 8.5 feet to drive through to the Port Cashier, you end up with something like 5 feet. So basically we're going to increase the radius of that in the plan. The whole thing needs repaving. So that's, replace like for like, but the difference here is that will extend inward a little bit, just so there's clearance to get vehicles through to the Port Cashier and then onto the Sedgwick curb cut.
Yeah.
Yep. So
and you do have the simulation in here somewhere. Let me see if I can.
I think that might be towards the end.
Yeah, that's.
I tried to group things as they would in their categories, which is maybe not the best way for a meeting.
Hold on here. There it is. Okay.
So if you're walking by, this is what you would see. And I've actually simulated a few things. One is pruning the tree, which has actually already been done. But painting the house, right now it's a bright yellow. We want to make it a more kind of a warm gray that we feel would complement the cedar a little bit better. That's in the application as well. There's some erosion going on, so we want to put in a retaining walls solution so you can see the that would be mortarless granite stones, hand stacked for the retaining wall, and then you can see the garage. And really what I mean when I say that rotating the gables diminishes the presence, you don't see a big peak, you just kind of see a small structure. Especially with the low trusses, the 412 pitch, really keeps that roof out of sight. So you're walking by, you'll see the garage door, and that's again one of the reasons I want some recommendations on garage doors, so we can do that right. But somebody walking by, you're still going to mostly see the house.
Shoot, Don, I was going to say, because there are a number of items here, I'm wondering if we can have discussion about the garage garage now, and then we'll move on to the other site alterations and so forth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to also mention that before we can give complete approval, we're going to need specifics on colors. We're going to need specifics on the door, which you've already mentioned, Brian. And so there's things that you alluded to which are fine, but we will need the color samples. We will need the material samples. We will need that, and anything that we do will be subject to receiving that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as Kate mentioned, let's talk about the garage. Any comment from any board members?
Yes, I've unmuted. Anyone want to go first?
Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you. First of all, Brian, thank you for showing us so much. Your site and the photo, it's a great house. It's terrific that you're going to be in it. It's one of the corner house. It's a wonderful house in this district. I would like to speak, however, to the character of your approach here. In other words, I'm concerned that, first of all, you're never going to hide a two-car garage. Let's say that again. You're never going to hide a two-car garage. I think the approach here is that you've tried to minimize it so much that it's driven the design, when in fact the historic context of the neighborhood and your house should drive your design. I'm going to basically recommend that you engage an architect or a designer, a historic designer, to look at this garage. And here would be the following recommendations. Number one, the slope that you have on the roof of this will bring all of the snow to the door in front of it. Number two, the peak on your house faces the street and is one of the primary features, at least faces diagonally, the end view that you have on your view of the house from the garage site shows a beautiful peak that's about, 6, maybe it's 8 on 12, much higher. I recommend that roof pitch is appropriate, and the fact that you could put the gable end towards the street would actually make the garage fit the general design character of the house. You could also then, between the door, between the soffit of the roof line and the head of the door, have a dark panel painted much like your dark cedar upper part of your house. And those two simple little features, turning the gable roof, putting a peak on it, and having a dark underside below that, a band of about a foot above your garage door all the way around the building, make the basic vocabulary of the garage complement the house. So that's one thought. The other one is probably a 20 by 20 two-car garage for collectors of cars is probably not big enough. The fact that you probably have 2 other cars, if you collect sports cars and you have 2 of those, you probably have 2 more. I would also suggest you get a landscape architect to look at increase. You have a big site. It's probably capable of more for the kind of use you might have down the road. And now's the time to plan that out. It could be that you have part of a garage cover with a portico, so you could park another car under there in the winter and not have snow on it. And lastly, that's the garage. Lastly, regarding your landscaping, I would first, again, bring in a landscape architect to consider natural landscaping features that don't require retaining walls. This slope is not severe. It may be slightly moving. That could be a vegetation issue on the surface. So I think I would highly recommend getting more professional advice on those 2 fronts. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay. Any other board comments?
Yes, I basically agree with Bob, although I would suggest, if you're considering increasing the size of the garage, the 20-foot width probably will work, but a 20-foot depth for a garage is really inadequate. You ought to consider at least 22, if not 24 feet, just to have some mobility within the garage when the vehicles, no matter how small the vehicles are. I agree with Bob on the pitch, considering matching the pitch on the house gable. Though, as an alternative to turning the gable to face the entrance, you might also consider putting a fake dormer on there to provide a pitch and shed snow away from the garage door, and leaving the primary gable running the direction that it does.
Mhm.
Are we going to get into the slope yet? I'm very much concerned about these retaining walls. I think they're a
Okay, let's stay
problem.
in the garage. Let's stay in the
Okay.
garage for a second.
Okay.
I know the applicant, and I'm not speaking for you, Brian, but the applicant said that the reason that the gable is turned as it is to be more sensitive to the neighbor. And I personally think that that's a good thing. And I think Dan's approach of possibly a fake dormer might accomplish what we need to accomplish. But that's just my comment. Are there any other, and in terms of the garage door, what are the board's feelings on the garage door?
Well, this door is going to, assuming this is an overhead door, is going to have 2 foot and basically 2 foot high panels. And I think it should be broken into panels that are in character with the house. Beyond that, with the trim panels, they're readily available. It just breaks down the visual scale of this block of whatever color it turns out to be, and gives some additional character.
Right. What's the thought about putting any glazing in that garage door at all? I know Brian said that he didn't want any, but from a compatible nature, what's the thought of board members on any glazing?
I certainly have no problem with adding glazing, but if he prefers not to have it, I don't see where it's going to make a huge difference.
I'd follow that by saying at least consider some glazing to help the human scale of that garage door. One of the big negatives of garage doors is they don't have any scale to them whatsoever. And the glazing as a horizontal visual strip gives you a human scale of, and obviously visibility for inside and outside. It helps with the scale. The period of the house would have had some human scale in that facade, and it probably would have been paneling or glazing in the doors.
Right. Brian, do you want to respond to?
Yeah. First off, a lot of great advice there. Thank you. And we'll get to the retaining wall. But yeah, we've been considering IV2s and things like that. But yeah, on the garage, so regarding the size, we actually have a 20 by 20 now, and it's sufficient for the cars that we have. The way that we handle, because we already have more cars than space at our property in Clay. So we have, that one's already sold. It's going to close in a month or so, but we actually have some land up in Phoenix, and that's where things get stored. So really, this garage is, this is the car that we have out that we're driving this week. We need to park it somewhere enclosed. So, yeah, I mean, maybe a future owner would benefit from a bigger garage. That's certainly, not everyone drives tiny cars, but we're planning on staying in this house for a very, very long time. We're not concerned about what the future owners is convenient for them. So we would like to keep it small, and that makes it a little bit easier in terms of the driveway. And that radius, we don't want to push that driveway too close to that porch, which is really nice. So the 20 by 20 were good. And then same with the roof pitch. Frankly, I'd be happier with a higher pitch. I mentioned I want to diminish the presence to the street, and keep the neighbor happy. The next door neighbor, she's really great, really sweet woman. She's been extremely helpful to us. So I want to return the favor. But also, my understanding is that a previous garage plan got tied up indefinitely in court for being too tall. I've not experienced that directly, but a lot of people have told me that. And to keep the garage low, so that's the other reason that we've been keeping it low. Yeah, in terms of glazing, if especially if it's at a higher level, if we put some glazing there, we might be able to do some sort of curtain or leaded or stained glass or something. Not directly opposed to it. It's just it's not something that we want people peering in, but we could address that otherwise. And if it would add some scale to the garage, I think that makes a lot of sense. So that's something we'll look at. And same with the architect. Right now, this is a 3D model that I've drawn, based on what the builder has described to us. We don't have them on retainer yet, so to speak. We kind of wanted to make sure this project was reasonable. Once we do that, then we can get an architect in, and if we want to talk different pitches and dormers and things like that, they can draw that up. I mean, obviously, this is something where we're going to have to have a follow-up discussion on.
What's your timing on this, Brian, for the construction of the garage?
That's a great question. So there's a couple competing factors there. One is it would be really great to have the builder could do it before winter, and that would be really great place for the snowblower because we have 300 feet of sidewalk to clear. There is actually a huge wood shortage going on right now.
Yes.
So the goal was to have cedar or cedar shake, and the builder basically said they can't do it. They can't. There's not enough cedar. They can't get it.
He's right.
And I've been calling lumber yards because I have a cargo trailer. I'd be willing to truck it in for him. I can't get it either.
No one can.
So what he said, and this is something to discuss as well, is there's something called smart siding. It's composite wood. And I want to be clear about this. We absolutely do not want to have it composite wood for the next 20 years. But he said they could build it with the composite now and then replace it with cedar later when it becomes available. So if that's something that's acceptable for the board, our time frame could be, November. If that's unacceptable, then just by virtue of supply, we're looking at sometime next year.
Okay. Yeah, no, I wanted to find that, and you're absolutely right. I'm in the real estate business, construction business, and you can't get it. You just can't get the product now. It just doesn't exist.
Brian, I think you're on the right track. I think you're not. First of all, I appreciate this. We see this as a discussion phase. Do you have an application in, do you? So you're trying to move as quick as you can?
Yes, I was going to mention that. This is a C of A. We do have a formal C of A. So what we're going to do, or what I suggest that we do, is we're going to finish our discussion on the landscaping, et cetera. But as Bob alluded, we're going to keep this as an open certificate of appropriateness application. And hopefully, Brian, we can work together as quickly as we can so you know where you're going. And who knows, maybe you'll find some wood in the meantime, but I don't think so.
Brian, I just want to say one other thing.
So we're not going to call for a vote of approval or disapproval. This is going to stay open.
Brian, I appreciate this coming in here, and I think it's terrific you're in this house. I'm very happy for you and your family. And my comments may seem very sharp and direct. If we had a discussion phase and more time, we'd recommend more things that are appropriate. I'd like to caution you on two fronts. One is that if this came in, if you proceeded with this as it is, I would not be in favor of it personally. And that's just a discussion. It's not a final decision by any means. And the reason is that you shouldn't, in my view, you're trying to be overly courteous to your neighbor. The best thing you could do for a neighbor has an appropriate garage design that complements your house, is minimally sized to your needs and budget wise and everything else. But don't let the outside factors design this garage for you. So I would recommend you get a preliminary view by a historic architect, somebody who can do historic buildings, and give you the slightest few cues to help design this garage and then to achieve your goal for the rest of the project. Thank you for your patience.
Is there specific architects that the board could recommend?
No, we do not.
Work in Sedgwick, maybe?
We do not.
What I can do is
we can give you a list
of which architects have come through review. I can provide you with a list.
Yeah, and we also have the American. We don't
make recommendations.
You know what I mean? And you could go to the American Institute of Architects or your engineering society and ask for architects to do historic work. And Kate will help you with that direction. Thank you.
Okay.
Dan, I'm not sure if the rest of the board would agree with me, but I concur that there's a shortage of many materials right now. But to construct this building, to sheathe it in a durable sheathing, and then to cover it with a durable weather barrier and leave it until spring, wouldn't bother me.
No.
Good
No.
point. Get the shelter up. Yeah.
The other point that you might consider when you're looking at, if you decide to keep the roof in the same direction, you might consider extending the gables on both sides by just a few inches to provide a shadow relief. It's in agreement with the details on the house. Simple thing to do.
Okay. All right. So
Can I-
let's.
I just have one quick thing. Hey, Brian, I live at 303 Sedgwick, right down the street.
Wow.
I just have some friendly neighborhood advice for you.
Okay.
It's a great neighborhood with awesome people, but the stories you hear are far and wide, and all kinds of things that people like to talk about. So take those things with a grain of salt. And if you have any questions, I would be sure to not drive yourself nuts over what you're hearing, or somebody saw this or saw that. I mean, it is part of being in this neighborhood, but just to keep your own sanity, let us know if you have questions on anything. I think it would make your life a lot easier.
Okay.
Brian, I have one other comment, and I'm looking at these photographs that you provided, and this terrific. Is it a covered breezeway between the garage and the house? What is that? A low one-story white portico? Is that a porch?
The porte cochere.
It's a porte cochere. That vocabulary there has everything you suggested, a low flat roof, and you can turn the gable any which way you want. I'm looking at the view from the house to the garage side. That element, the porte cochere element, is
the veranda. Sorry, the porte cochere is a commercial.
I'm sorry, you're right. Veranda, not the porte cochere, but the veranda is of the height, stature, roof form, everything, and your garage style could use that element so it would look simply like a paneled veranda, even with white corner boards or something like that. If you take and break down the elements of that veranda behind the green plants that I see, looking at what must be the north facade of the house. I'm sorry, the west facade of the house. The veranda is a perfect set of design scale, vocabulary, heights, and color that the garage could be designed to complement that.
Okay. In interest of time and in interest of the fact that this is going to be an open certificate of appropriateness, and Brian's already indicated he's going to come back with more detail. I think Brian gets the gist that first and foremost, we're very, very, very happy that you're on the scene, Brian. We're also very, very much in support of building a garage. That's not going to be an issue. And we look forward to you coming back with specifics based on the comments in terms of scale and color and samples. So we'll put that aside for the rest of this discussion. And who's ever making papers, can you please stop?
Sorry, that was me. I'm sorry, I'm mute.
Okay. And then secondly, can we move on to the landscaping and the wall? Any comments from any board members?
Brian, are you leaving the tree on the right-hand side of the property as you look from Brattle?
Absolutely. So the tree actually in the picture number 4 there, it's split, and we had an arborist out, and his recommendation was strongly in favor of removing it. Very sad to see that tree go, but it's now gone. All the rest of the trees have been pruned and cabled and are very healthy.
Okay. Thanks.
Sorry, I'm not giving you the right photographs, but okay. Brian, why don't you describe what your plan is with the for this slope?
At some point, this front yard was terraced. We saw a picture in the 70s, and it was terraced at that point, and there was no trees, and it actually had grass, which seemed to be keeping things together. Without the grass there, with the trees there, the grass can't grow, of course. It's been eroding for some time. There's lots of cracks in the mortar, and the stairs are sliding downhill. So we need to do something to keep that together. Being an engineer, my solution is to build. So that's why I was drafting a retaining wall. We're not married to the retaining wall idea, though. I did actually get Steve Buchner out, and he looked at it and he recommended a couple plants that we could try before building the retaining wall. So that's something that we are also encouraging, and it sounds like I already got the feedback that we should definitely try that before the wall. But a little bit about the wall that we've submitted. So Trisha's parents actually have a property in the Hudson Valley. It's from the 1700s, right? This is a colonial revival. That house is a straight up colonial. And it has a similar problem on the back side of it, and they have this granite retaining wall that was, hand laid, mortarless, and it's beautiful, and we love it. And so we saw this as an opportunity to get one just like it. And so that's kind of what we put together in the application. The front lower staircase is about 5 feet elevation change very abruptly, and it looked like we needed about 40 feet of wall on either side to make that transition smooth. The top plateau is about 3 feet, and we wanted about 20 feet on either side of that.
Okay, hold on. Here we go. There we go.
Yeah, so this is the green is the current topology. The purple is the retaining wall that we would like to build. And again, that's the main thing we want to do is just keep the sidewalk from sliding downhill, because it's already cracked. If it goes a couple more years, we're concerned that bricks are going to start falling out and things like that.
Okay.
And just
all right, so I think we're in the same spot as we are with the garage. Is that you just mentioned that you're not sure yet about the wall, that you will look at other options. So within your time schedule, Brian, we meet the first and third Thursday of every month. And as soon as you can get your decisions made or your desires concretized, get back in touch with Kate, and we'll, in the meantime, keep this open and anticipate you coming back.
In terms of,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just wondering, Jeff, do you have any comments or suggestions? Jeff, our landscape architect? If Jeff is there, I know he's there.
Can you hear me now?
Yep,
Yeah,
I
we can hear you now.
Okay. So my question is, are we retaining the original stair and landing as is, or is that being replaced, Brian?
Oh, the intention was to build into that, to preserve that, as opposed to replace it.
Okay. And then you said you took a tree down. Which tree did you take down, the left or the right, when I'm looking at it from Brad?
If you're looking at the house, the tree on the left,
On the left.
split. It was split down to the roots, and the neighbors said it was in danger of falling on the house.
I would recommend taking the other one out because it's a Norway maple, and you're getting severe shading from it on the north slope, and that's why you're not getting anything to grow. My view here would be not to install any retaining wall. Once you eliminate that overhead canopy that is so dense, you're going to see a huge abundance of ideas and possibilities to reinvigorate this lawn and this beautiful stairway coming up to the house. That's my personal view, and from my background, I can see it work, and I would be against the idea of installing any sort of large retaining wall. I hear that you're going for an image of the stacked stone. You may want to you could put some boulders out there possibly, along with some plantings, and kind of tuck the hillside away, but I don't see any need for that expenditure.
Okay.
I just wanted to.
Dan?
I agree with Jeff's comments completely. One question, do we know if there's a foundation under the stairs? I assume there is.
There must be.
I would assume there is too, Dan.
Yeah, there is. I haven't dug down to figure out how deep it goes, but It's not just brick on top of dirt.
Okay, but there is a foundation substantial. You don't have to worry about replacing, because if it has to be replaced, better now than later. The other question is, I can't tell from the information we have what the existing slope of that embankment is, but it looks to be less than 1 and 3. Do you know what it is?
It's in terms of grading, I'm not sure, but that staircase that you're looking at in the bottom photo, each one of those stairs is 6 inches high and 1 foot deep.
Because if it's 1 and 3 or less, I don't see any need for a retaining wall at all. And there are plantings that will support that kind of embankment. It's even mowable.
Right.
Well,
Absolutely.
6 inches versus 12 would be 1 and 2, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It depends. It's hard to tell from the stair if that matches the embankment.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from the pictures too. I can go out and measure it and get you a number on that. But if you're trying to stand on that slope, you will fall. It's fairly steep.
Yeah. What I would recommend is this, Brian. What I would recommend is this. Again, we're going to leave this open. You've heard probably more commentary than you quantitatively than you thought, and let's give you a time to absorb it and make some decisions on the directions you would like to go. And we will be looking and anticipating your coming back. I would like to request of all of the board members that before Brian comes back, probably next meeting, that if you don't know the property, you've not been out there, please get out there and take a look so we all know precisely what we're talking about. As I said, I'm fortunate. I'm in the real estate business. I've been in that house and seen that house more times than I can count. So I would suggest that we all get out there and drive by and take a good look so we know exactly what Brian's talking about and are able to assist him better.
Yeah. Can I just ask quickly, Brian, are there things like, for example, moving your compressors? Are those items that you need to have approved right away? What are the things that are most pressing for you?
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, there is one thing that we might want to vote on. Actually, Kate, could you scroll to the site plan?
Yep. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Actually, could you zoom? Yeah, perfect. Zoomed in a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so there was 3 AC compressors at this house, and one of them, if you see the concrete walk on the east end of the house, top of the page, concrete walk, just to the left of that was one of the AC compressors. Now, all 3 were stolen. Pretty much anything of value was stolen from the house. That one is concealed nicely by landscaping, so we were happy to leave that there. That said, there was another one that was on the very corner of that house, which was an absolutely ridiculous location. Because we've got, I said hundreds of feet of curb, and you could have seen that from any one of them. So Kate actually walked around with the property with me. We were doing the HVAC work, and they needed to put it somewhere. And I said, all right, well, don't put it there. We don't want it there. So that one was removed, sorry, and they put a new location on top of the veranda in the back corner, and you can see that little green one. That is actually there already, so this is a kind of a retroactive request that I have. They had to do the work, they had to put it somewhere, so that's where they put it. They could move it if they have to. It would be a substantial amount of work, but I looked at that with Kate, and you can't see it from anywhere. You have to be one very specific place in the driveway to even see it. So that hides it nicely. And then the other one was actually, I think, in front of the stairs where it says covered porch on the survey. If you go down the bottom of those stairs, it was basically sitting right there between the stairs and the chimney. Again, ridiculous location. So instead of installing it there, what we did was moved it a few feet to the front left corner of the house. Now that is visible from the curb. You could see it in the pictures. It's already installed there. And so the reason that we did that, you can't conceal something that's blocking a staircase. But if we've got it on the chimney there, we can put some plantings around it. We really like boxwood, so our plan was to make a boxwood hedge around it to conceal it. But that is something, in terms of recommendations. If there's some other plant that people would like, we'd be happy to entertain it. But again, if we could, vote on approval for a boxwood hedge to conceal that AC and those, relocated AC placements, that would be much appreciated.
I would recommend if the board has no objection, we'll just again with the placement of the AC units and so forth, that we can continue to hold it open, but understand that that was an acceptable approach, and that everything will be approved at the same time, when you're ready. But that piece is good.
I'm fine with that recommendation, Kate.
Yeah, I just have one question. Is the AC on top of the veranda roof? Is that where it is?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would agree with that approach to the AC units.
Okay. All right, so you're all set there, Brian. And, again, if you have any questions during the process, get in touch with Kate. And I want to reiterate again to fellow board members to get out to the property and take a look and bring your packet with you so we can best advise this applicant.
And I'll say the doorbell doesn't work, but feel free to knock. I'd be happy to show anybody around.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, what time do you serve dinner?
Whenever the food truck gets here.
Yeah.
We had pepinos last night. It was great.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much, Brian. And again, this is terrific.
Wonderful. Thank you for your help, everyone.
Okay, good luck. Yeah, we'll help you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving forward, as Kate said in her report, she's happy. I'm happy that the secret lead agency request on the Moyer factory, and that I think is the best way to go.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. And anything else, Kate?
I just wanted to let me stop sharing for a second here so I can see everyone. I am thinking we need to figure out logistics. I don't know when we're going to be able to be in person again, or if in fact we might be doing hybrids. Some people will feel comfortable coming into City Hall, others people won't. So I want to make sure that we, and of course I'm in control also, of who is muted and who's not. I want to make sure that everybody's vote is counted, that there is discussion. I know, Jeff, you were concerned because you felt you left me a note saying that one of the frustrations is feeling as though there's not a good ability to have that, in-person discussion. So I think that we need to figure out a way to make sure everyone is heard. And if you have, the problem is if you wave, it depends on how big your picture is on my screen, whether or not I actually see it. So
let me ask you this, Kate. If in fact we wanted to do in person, we could certainly do it in Common Council chambers from a distance point of view.
Sure.
Would that even be allowed? Would the city allow that?
Not at the moment. Not at the moment. City Hall Commons, they're still closed to the public. I think that there's real interest in being able to get everybody to reopen the public buildings, but I suspect we're just waiting to see what happens with the winter, and if there's going to be an increase in cases and so forth. So there is actually there is a raise your hand.
Right, that's what I was going to suggest.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I should know.
There is a raise your hand.
There is a raise your hand, and there we go. Lisa has raised her hand.
Yes. I'm into hand raising as an old teacher. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, which would have been useful the other night on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
Who has the spoon? Anyway.
So the woodcut.
I will try to be more aware of raising hands or people waving, or perhaps during when we have a vote, I will unmute everybody, so that or all of the board members, so that I can you know, if so that we can be sure that we hear if there are any dissenters or any further discussion.
I would suggest not doing that. I would suggest the following. I'm doing 15, 16 Zoom meetings a week, so we run into this all the time. What I would suggest, again, it puts more burden on you, Kate. Like right now, there's background noise, and it's very disturbing, and I don't know who it is, but I think that the protocol has to be that the speaker and maybe one other is unmuted, and the rest have to stay muted. That's just the way it has to be. Otherwise, you can't function. And what I suggest is that we can, in every instance, when we ask for discussion, if it's me and I'm running the meeting, I'll just ask for discussion, and I will then immediately defer to you, Kate, and you'll have to look for raised hands. And everybody's going to have to make sure they know how to use that function. If not, get in touch with Kate and learn. So that it will.
and Kate needs to learn too. Yeah.
Yeah. It might slow a particular discussion down for a second, but anytime we need comment or anytime we need discussion, we'll have to do it through the raised hand process. And especially on a vote, we'll have to have raised hands in time for you to count and make sure everybody in fact is counted.
Yeah. And I'm actually not seeing where, Lisa, where did you find the raise your hands?
It's right by your video icon. If you go up to the space, it's
little. I think I probably don't have it because I'm in charge.
Okay.
But I can see your hand.
Yeah. Okay.
I can see that you've raised your hand. So I probably just don't have one because I'm the host. Okay.
What we'll do is Kate and you and I can get together to memorialize this process better in writing so that we all have it. We'll send it out before next meeting. But in my experience, to have a situation where everybody's unmuted will be a disaster. That'd be a disaster.
I was suggesting just during voting that we unmute, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I would suggest that on votes, Kate, maybe you can put together a sheet of several sheets of the board roster and just mark each vote down by board member. Just check it off.
Yeah, or I can call the vote too. I mean, I can when it's time to vote, if or let's see, or I can stop sharing so I can see your. I could.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll work it out. We'll get back to the board so that every vote is counted and all comments are heard. That's very important.
Yep. Yep.
Can I make one last comment about 12?
Yep.
You're breaking
Can you
up
hear
a
me
little.
now?
Yeah, you're breaking up, Lisa.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say what Jeff said about the remaining tree on the right-hand side of the property. I've been by many times, and I think we need to be really, really aware of this retaining wall issue and the way this is going to unfold. I think he's great, but the one tree remaining makes the property look completely unbalanced. So I think, Don, you're right. Everyone needs to take a ride out and look at it from all angles and get a better idea of what we're working with.
Yeah.
So
it's a signature property on a signature corner. So
right.
I think
Thank
Jeff's
you.
comments and Dan about how the tree has made the land it's so shaded it won't grow anything is part of the main problem.
Yeah.
Lisa, if you cut the other tree down, the house will be back in balance.
That's it looks off.
And it'll be less expensive than a retaining wall.
Right. Oh yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
What was the story on Tom? Has he been ill? I didn't hear.
He's Tom is you know what? Actually, I'm going to
end the meeting
and stop, or at least stop the record. Yes, end the meeting.
Okay.
Stop.
So the meeting is adjourned.
You can send me a note, Kate, if you wish, whichever.
Yeah. Oh no, it's all right. Here.